Apostle of goodness, don't praise to Yahweh Shema Shai Boshima Kakdash. Shalom to the one that Hebrew Israelites, Zechariah 38, which writers of great Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as Bedlam, who are still oppressed together according to the book of Jeremiah 50:33, but to whom Soleil belong their adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the service of God, and the promises. Basically everything like I used to say. The service of God and the promises according to the book of Romans chapter 9 verse 4, Ecclesiastes 10 and 7. I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon what? Upon the earth. Okay. Okay. Read to you by the scriptures, specifically the King James Version 16 and 11, which is the best Bible on earth. Okay, the King James Version is also a good Bible, but the King James Version 16:11 is a little bit better. Depends, okay, what print you use, because it might look a little bit too old to read it. So you have to buy one that you can actually read. This lesson is about the danger of pretending to be wise, or basically people who think they are more than they actually are. Okay. Being basically useless. Okay. And it has certain dangers and effects. Okay. Like if you only pretend to be wise, which I don't have the definition towards or in general of being wise, but I have the definition of, what it might look like if somebody pretends to be wise, right? Which the Bible teaches us basically that true wisdom comes from God the Creator, not from our own pride or knowledge in general. Okay, it doesn't matter if people have different knowledge. Some people have knowledge about maybe the dinosaurs. Some people have knowledge about, certain elements, or chemicals. Some people, have knowledge about how to deal with horses, how to care for horses, Who cares? Okay, it's basically all a certain measure of knowledge, if you will. Okay. Then you have certain agreements in certain countries, where the main knowledge really seems to be. I tell you, you have a lot of families, making their own stuff. Okay, I don't say that it's wise to not put your children into some kind of governmental school, but what I saw, okay, is not bad. You have families that do stuff like that, and they are not stupid parents, okay, and most likely they have the money to back that up, okay, to really still make something out of those children, even if they don't have anything to, basically say, I did that, I visited that university and I visited that university, and you have to have money to do something like that. And for what I saw, parents who did that, they I think it's not too bad, it depends, because I'm not there. I can't know what they what comes with those children if they are older, right? If they regret what their parents did or not, right? So that's why yeah, of course there's something like destiny, right? Yeah, but destiny is also a interesting situation, because you know as we know, there is no free will, right? So destiny is, of course, something. If you read Romans 1:22, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Yeah, I heard that maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 times. Okay, so what is professing yourself to be wise? I would say, at least if you say it, and I would say, if you think that, you know, if you think that the Bible is really literal, a thing of not keeping the commandments, literally, it's like, yeah, literally a thing of misunderstanding what really Paul talks about, which Paul talks about keeping the commandments. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I know that I I talk about these things, keeping the law. I know that myself. Surprise. Okay. The difference is, I say it because there's nothing wrong about saying it. I know I can say it as often as I want. There's nothing wrong about pushing the law. Just like your state has its law, so has the Bible, right? So what I understand is that if you professing yourself to be wise, you basically ignore the scriptures with your own opinion or interpretation, which we have interpretations and extension of the law, which comes to Yahushai in the so-called New Testament, which there is no New Testament or Old Testament. It's one scriptures, and it leaves you not more space. Okay, it gives you not more space. It just gives you an idea of you can't keep it perfect. Okay, I understand the so-called New Testament not as something that says, yeah, the law says it that way. So, but look, um, it's not important if you keep it or how you keep it. Just think about it a little bit and whatever. I think it's more of a way to go into the exact literal saying of the law and to give it our extension of how to understand it in a way of, so you can't fully keep it. That's the only thing. Okay, so if your ox falls down into a pit, guess what? You take it out, I would say. So that's not a direct extension of, a law extension, like, like you would have to make millions of laws. Okay, what if the pit is 10 meters down? down the ground. What if the pit is 20 meters down the ground? No, this is not how it works. Because if you make a law for everything, it's like the German DDR, if you don't know it. Okay, trying to keep hold of all the people, whatever they do, day in, day out. They had so much documents and documentary on their inhabitants, their neighbors, if you will. They had not even enough staff to write it all down, about the people, what they do, and yeah, that is basically the same. Okay, the Bible is a book. It's not. It's not. How can I say? Something like the internet, where you can basically make your whole life searching adventure, right? So even the internet has an end. Okay, that's why it's the internet. But to be honest, you can't have a law and at the same time, a book, when the law is really going into every last detail. So that's why we have Yahushua talking about, look, the law says don't work on the Sabbath, but if your ox falls down a pit, what is it that you do? You maybe take him out of that, or ox is an ox is a man ox, right? So you take him out of that pit, right? So it's not something that says, look, the law is done away with, and the law is something else, and the law you don't need to keep it that way, but the other way, no. It just gives you another perspective, okay, when it comes to real life. Okay, and really, I'm really sad that people don't understand that. Okay, like it's so obvious and so easy to see that that the law is not done away with. It's really easy. Okay, we don't have to start with the dietary laws, because even the dietary laws are just another scientific way to tell you that no, it might be better for you to eat dove meat than pork meat. Might be better. If you don't believe me, I don't know. Okay, go fuck yourself.